Tony D and Little Jones asleep on the couch, and this is a screenwriter's rant on Living, starring Bill. I can never pronounce his name. Nighy? Nighy? I think that's his name. Bill Nighy. You know, he was the head vampire in Underworld. You know who I'm talking about. He was in Shaun of the Dead. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. Links in the description. Comedy horror. There he is. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys. Books 1 through 10. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. I will be at the Pinelands Brewery at 2 p.m. 2 to 6 today. Getting ready right now. Thought I'd take a break. Do a couple videos. Now, Bill, there he is, plays an Englishman who, I don't know, lives in like the 50s. I'm going to say 50s, 40s, 50s, the time of paper. And he lives a boring life. And then one day he says, you know, I've been living this life all my life and I've never lived. So he decides he's going to live. And he goes out and has some fun. He's late for work for the first time. He has some cakes. He has a pint. He goes to a carnival. Gets into a little trouble. So it's a drama about living your life. Don't let time slip past. Oh, I'll go to the movies. I'll go to the circus. Oh, it'll be great. Oh, I'm living now. I'm living. A film by Oliver Hermanus. Hermanus? Hermanus. Dang it. What the? There it is. Okay. So, there you go. I'm back where I started. Yeah, I mean, this is a theme. It's been in movies a long time. Live your life. I think written by Nobel laureate Kazuo Ishiguro. Oh, maybe it was originally a Japanese story, and they adapted it for the UK. It would fit during this time period. Here's the thing. I have no problem with a movie like this. These movies are often inspiring. December 23rd, this comes out. It's a good Christmas movie. An English language adaptation of Akiru. Yeah, 1952. Boom, I nailed it. Set in London in the 50s. It was set in Japan. Felt very Japanese, and as soon as I saw the Japanese name, oh yeah, okay. So, yes, in the 50s, in England, absolutely. Even today in Japan, maybe. They're very work-oriented, I'll say. In Japan, certainly in the 50s, they would have been. Here's the problem with a movie like this in the West. This really isn't an issue here. It's not an issue in America. Not an issue in the UK anymore. It's the opposite issue. Who the hell works? Who the hell works anymore? Now, I'm not knocking the story. I'm sure it's a solid story. It looks like a solid movie. But it's odd to me that they would make this because it doesn't speak to this time at all. Because we are not existing in a time where people, oh, I don't get to live my life. We exist in the opposite of that. We exist in a time where people impose their life on everyone around them. You know, I had a friend, and he was a good friend of mine. But he had the ability to impose whatever he was doing on everybody else around him. And that included his employers and his coworkers, everybody. Everybody would just be involved in his life 24/7. And he was a great guy. But it did get annoying sometimes. And there are a lot of people like that. There are a lot of people, they go to work for a while, and then they just decide, oh, I'm not feeling it today. People at Twitter, for instance, who are all getting fired right now. Look, I understand that, and sure, once in a great while, you might need to take off from your job. Maybe you're having a rough week. Some bad things have happened to you. Maybe you're just depressed. Maybe you have an actual thing. But today, people abuse those privileges. It's not like it was in the 50s. It was unheard of to take a day off. Oh, you'd be embarrassed unless you were very sick. You were sick. And people would go, oh, that's appropriate. There was appropriate behavior and non-appropriate behavior. That line is completely blurred today. You have people showing up to work in ridiculous outfits, demanding that they be allowed to look ridiculous. You have people who don't want to work. You know, there was a big article a few weeks ago, quiet quitting. Yeah, basically like going to work but barely doing your job, which is 99% of the workforce in America. So I would really have loved to have seen an adaptation of this. That was the complete opposite. About a guy who's completely irresponsible, so to the point of which being that irresponsible and living your life is actually boring, and that finally having a little responsibility gives his life meaning. Again, no shade on this story. I'm sure it's wonderful. And there are people even today who get caught up in their work and that's all they do. I'm kind of like that. But we definitely don't have a problem with that, I would say. So it's weird to me that they're doing this movie now because it speaks to a generation that's long gone. Long gone for the most part. Yeah, there's a few people from the 50s, 60s. They're still knocking around, I guess. A handful of them. Not many. Maybe they can relate to this? Will a general audience today, will a 20-year-old relate to this? I don't think so. I don't think they have the attention span to sit through a movie, much less, think over the concepts of, oh, am I really living my life? That's another thing that needs to be done. A movie about a guy so caught up in social media that he doesn't live his life. That's like everybody right now. So again, I'm not throwing shade at this movie. It looks finely acted, wrought, everything about this. I'm sure it'll be fine. I just question the timing of releasing a project like this. But this is Hollywood, in even independent movies. They do things because, that's what the art world wants, right? This is a movie that can be accepted by the world of movies. Oh, he's not living his life. Oh, yeah, I know how that is. I work so hard, by people who really don't work that hard. But they want to believe they're like this guy. And again, Bill Nighy, great actor, really good in a lot of stuff. So I don't know why I did that rant. It's really not about the movie. First act, he's a boring guy in the 50s. He goes to work all the time. At the end of the first act, he realizes, hey, I've wasted my entire life. I haven't lived. I think his wife is probably dead by now, right? So second act, he decides, how do I live my life? I don't even know. I've never even lived. I've never smiled. I've never touched grass. And I don't know, one of his friends, younger friends, says, oh, we do this new thing called listening to music. Listening to music, you say? And he goes and he listens to music. He goes out for a pint and he does all those things. And people are like, well, look at him. It's so unusual that he would be late for work or show up hungover or take a day off. What? And then the third act, I don't know. I'm not sure how this movie would end. I mean, I guess it would end with everybody learning a lesson like, you should live your life. Maybe he quits his job at the end and, I don't know, becomes a surfer. Something like that. Or he goes back to his life, but then he's changed and he can't really go back. He can't really go back to his life now the way it was. He can't do that every day. And then he does quit. He retires. And he runs out the clock on a beach somewhere. That would be the happy ending. So, but it's a Japanese story, so might not end that way. It might be like he goes back to his life and like having fun's too much for him. It's too much. It overloads his brain a little bit, and he gets scared, and he goes back to his regulated life, and he's like, no, this is what I should do until I die. Which would be sad, but it would be kind of cool at the same time from a film standpoint. So, not so sure about that third act, but again, it's like we've got too many people running around having too much fun, not doing any job whatsoever. Oh, but we need a movie about people who work too hard. Again, you know, this is part of the tone deafness of, I would say, Western culture in general. They have no connection to what's happening now. It's like the people who made this movie live in a fantasy world. They're probably all rich, I'll guess. I don't know anything about the people who made this movie, but I'm going to guess they're all rich or all well off. They're all people who are related to people in the movie industry, have been working in it to a long time, and they have a paradigm that goes back to this era. It goes back to the 60s and 70s. Although they're not that old, it's the paradigm they've copied from the people who were their predecessors. And they feel they should make movies like this because people are working too hard, because they have no sense of what's going on in the real world. Just a theory. Anyhow, that's it for me. Tony D and Little Joan sleeping in the house somewhere. Check me out at Pinelands Brewery tonight. It's in Little Egg Harbor or Tabernacle. I think Little Egg Harbor is the exact address. I'll be there from 2 to 6. I will have the Pineys, and I will be talking about, of course, the Jersey Devil. We'll see you in the next one.